Good morning. Today we're going to talk about the 10th Command-rant. Okay, I guess I'll have to explain. Now, this is the chicken Qabalah of Rabbi Lamed ben Clifford, a dilettante's guide to what you do and do not need to know to become a Kabbalist. Now, this is a pretty old book of mine, and it was kind of a difficult concept to sell to Donald Weiser, who was my publisher at the time, because in his own way, Donald Weiser was quite a Jewish Kabbalist himself. Oh, you're noticing I'm not trying to be irreverent, actually. I'm just being Rabbi Lamed ben Clifford. Now, there are a lot of jokes, some of them really bad, some of them really corny, some of them seemingly absurd and just being funny for funny's sake in this book, because over the years I've discovered that even to communicate the most fundamental of tarot fundamentals, you can quickly bore your listener to death. Not that it isn't profound and exciting and awesome, but until you get to the point of where you understand how interesting and awesome and colorful it really is, you've fallen asleep. So during Monday Night Magic classes over the years, I just got goofier and goofier in how I was laying out these fundamentals. And so when it came time to write a Qabalah book, or a book on Hermetic Qabalah, Qabalah for magicians, not serious, orthodox as exegesis on the Torah and the Talmud and the various things, but just practical, magical Qabalah. And so I invented a rabbi. I invented my own rabbi, and I tell you the story of how it all happened, where I got the idea. But in serious spiritual literature, it's very often the case that the person that's actually writing it is writing it as someone else to give them authority, like, oh, King Solomon said this, or Rabbi so-and-so said this, and it's really, Rabbi so-and-so about 500 years later writing it. But as funny as it is, and as goofy as it is, and as seemingly lighthearted as it is, I did the best I could at the time to write it Kabbalistically. And that 10 Command-rant thing that we're going to talk about today is, let's see if I can get a 10 Command-rant here going for us. Hold on, 10 Command-rants. Here we go. All is one. First command-rant is a lie. All is nothing. There really isn't a creation, time or space, heaven or earth, but there is a you. We perceive there is a creation, time and space, heaven and earth, because of a fundamental defect in our powers of perception. This defect cannot be repaired, but it can be overcome. In order to overcome our defective powers of perception, we must be willing to abuse them until they break. And the last four, everything in heaven and earth is connected to everything in heaven and earth. Everything in heaven and earth is the reflection of everything in heaven and earth. Everything in heaven and earth contains the pattern of everything in heaven and earth. And finally, the 10th one, which we're going to talk about just briefly, and look hard enough at anything and you'll eventually see everything. That's because of all of the previous 9 command-rants. Okay, to set up that story, okay, let's see where I set up that story. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. Okay. To set up that story, in the story of the 10 Command-rants, I have a little preface here saying how the rabbi came to receive the 10 Command-rants. Now, in the biblical story, Moses went up on the mountain, Mount Moriah, or I think it was, okay? And God appeared to him as a burning bush. And in that and the bush never, the bush talked to him. The burning bush literally talked to him, okay? Now in Qabalah, talking and words are really important thing, but I get ahead of myself. So it talked to him. Then afterwards he received the message, received the truth, received the 10 Command-rants. Okay. Now, in the Bible, various texts in Hebrew that tell that story also contain all sorts of wonderful Kabbalistic treasures and secrets, if you will, that if you look hard enough at every one of the letters and everything else, it tells all sorts of different stories, besides just the Cecil B. DeMille narrative kind of thing. And I do the same thing with the chicken Qabalah. And even though it seems like a goofy damn thing, remember this is Lamed Ben Clifford. Okay, it's a play on the initials of my name, LMD, Lamed. And so, and Ben Clifford, my dad's name was Clifford. Okay, so son of Clifford, Lamed, son of Clifford. So that's sort of a running gag, because Lamed is a very, very, as is every Hebrew letter, it's a very Kabbalistically important one, because it's right in the middle of the Qabalah or Hebrew letter sequence. Okay, there's 10 letters. There's 0 and then 10 letters ahead and 10 letters. That's why the Lamed tarot card, which is the justice card, the goddess justice, the balance, okay? And I've used truly, I've used the Lamed as my it's my Episcopal name. Uh, it, and it's the main character in this book. Okay, here's how I set up the 10 Command-rant things. The 10 Command-rants introduced by Lon Milo DuQuette, it says. And then here's an epigraph from Ben Clifford. Don't worry if none of this makes any sense to you right now. It is enough to remember that the realization of the One is the second to the last goal of all Kabbalists. The final goal is to attain the consciousness of nothing. Okay, now that sounds kind of goofy, you know. Yeah. Okay. Rabbi Ben Clifford claimed that in the winter of 1989, he made a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, where he climbed Mount Sinai to, as he put it, touch base and get further clarification, unquote, on several matters pertaining to Scripture. On the summit, the supreme deity allegedly appeared to him in the form of a rotating tongue sandwich. Just like the burning bush, it talked to him. Okay. Talked to Moses. It's a rotating tongue sandwich that lectured Ben Clifford for about 6 minutes. And to quote the rabbi, now here's the quote: "The Lord's lustrous lingua lashed from the luminous laser-like lights that lick the length of the lush and lonely landscape. Later I laughed like a lunatic as I lay lifelessly limp and lingered upon the lilt of the last littlest letter of the laws and laudable lessons I so lately learned." Okay, now a Kabbalist who would read something like that and consider it Holy Scripture would go, hey, that's a lot of L's. And L is the lingual part of speech. Okay, yeah, and a rotating tongue sandwich is delivering this, and it's rotating. Okay. Like a disco ball, tongue sandwich. Okay. So it might occur to an obsessed Kabbalist to count how many L's were used, and there are 30. And the Hebrew letter Lamed is also the number 30. "30 L's. Lamed." Of course, this story is, that was the rabbi's quote, "Of course, this story is a complete fabrication. To my knowledge, Ben Clifford never visited Israel, and in 1989 would have been physically unfit to climb any mountain. In fact, I've spoken to several of his early students who informed me that in the winter of 1989, the rabbi was hospitalized in New York City after suffering an emotional breakdown on the observation deck of the Empire State Building after becoming violently ill at the Carnegie Deli." Okay. Wasn't the summit of Mount Moriah or Sinai. Okay. It was the observation deck of the Empire State Building. And he was in an altered state of consciousness because he just had food poisoning, suffered food poisoning, probably from one of the famous Carnegie Deli tongue sandwiches. Okay, now all of that's fun to think about and connect everything to everything else, but I'm trying to give everybody the opportunity to see how everything is connected to everything else. Be that as it may, the fact remains that in late 1989, Ben Clifford did indeed publish a short treatise on the nature of the creation and the underlying theory of Kabbalistic study. These 10 command-rants, as he called them, are the work of unquestioned genius. Okay. This is another reason why it's fun to write pseudepigraphically, because you can call yourself a genius. Okay. They are perhaps the most concise description of the nature of reality ever penned, reducing complex and inscrutable concepts to their essence. Their publication in the Qabalah magazine Gomer resulted in Rabbi Ben Clifford's overnight transformation from crazy old burned out lunatic to crazy old burned out lunatic holy man. I consider his subsequent commentaries on the 10 Command-rants the best introduction to the Qabalah ever written. They continue to be, for me, a perpetual reminder of why I'm on the great Kabbalistic adventure. I strongly advise the student to refer to them often through the years of his or her mystical career. Okay. Now, the next chapter are the rabbi's commentary on each one of those 10 command-rants. And just for this morning, I'll stress the 10th command-rant. Look hard enough at anything, and you'll eventually see everything. And his only comment is, only then, dear chicken Kabbalist, will you have an eye big enough to really close, so you can finally get some well-deserved rest. And then he goes into the book that he received, the Sefer Yetzirah, and his own version of the Sefer Yetzirah. The Chicken Qabalah of Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford was great fun to write, and I've been told anyway, it's great fun to read. And it is more serious than, or more importantly, serious than it at first appears. It's now there's a son of the Chicken Qabalah too that actually has a series of exercises and self-initiations, but still in the same spirit of fun. But a new improved Kabbalistic text of great cynicism and wisdom, written expressly for dilettantes with really short attention spans, who pretentiously consider themselves Hermetic Kabbalists, but who are nonetheless serious about utilizing a tiny portion of the Hebrew Qabalah for spiritual enlightenment. This is sort of a private hardbound edition of the Chicken Qabalah. but a paperback version is available from anywhere. It's published by Weiser, and so is Son of Chicken Qabalah. And if you don't have one, the rabbi would appreciate it. Even if you don't read it, he'd appreciate it if you bought it. And if you do have one and you have friends that you would like to at least open up the conversation of what this crazy stuff that you're into, get a box of them, put them by the front door, and as your friends leave, give them one. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.